The foundation of every competitive trio team revolves around these three roles: the IGL, also known as the in-game leader, the fragger, and then the support player. There's a vast variety of orientations and formations that these specific roles go into when looking at a competitive trio, so I want to cover exactly the different formations that you can have for your trio that can help you succeed in competitive tournaments. Now let's start with the IGL. The IGL is your team's brain. They make the big decisions such as what POI to land at, where and when to rotate, how to take a fight, and also how to navigate the storm. They control the tempo and keep the trio focused. You'll see players like Queasy and Acorn master this role. They're not always the flashiest mechanical players, but they make the difference in these stacked lobbies with their decisions. The fragger is your enforcer. This player is aggressive, mechanically strong, and responsible for picking up eliminations when the opportunity strikes, especially during the mid-game and late-game layers. Pro players like Cold and Veno are elite fraggers. They don't just look for kills, they try to create space and momentum in your team. And then the support player does the dirty work. It's absolutely essential though. They tarp, carry utility and heal items, and they also make sure that the team stays alive. They block off the back of your tarp for your team, and they just generally are the backbone of the team. Think players like Thomas HD or Yumi. They're calm, resourceful, and always doing what the team needs most in these situations. Now if we think back to Chapter 2 when Trios FNCS was really taking the main stage, most teams followed a simple formula: one IGL, one fragger, and one support. It worked well when the game was slower, the lobbies were less stacked, and players weren't as experienced. But as Fortnite matured and we got duos as the main competitive game mode, more players studied VOD reviews, improved their comms, learned from past FNCS events, and the old formula stopped working. The trios meta evolved. Now that trios has come back, teams have started recognizing that role clarity, communication flow, and adaptability are just as important as mechanics. In the modern day, trios don't just rely on aim and edits, they rely on synergy, structure, and strategy. So if we look at the first orientation, it's going to be the IGL, fragger, and support structure. This is the most traditional, balanced setup, and one that definitely still works in 2025. You've got one clear leader making the calls, that's going to be your IGL, one mechanical player that's going to be chasing frags and impact eliminations, and then one anchor player supporting the whole trio and keeping the team alive. In terms of why it works, each player knows their lane. There's no confusion about who's tarping, who's calling rotates, or who's diving into boxes. There's going to be a clear comms hierarchy, and also each player will be able to master their specific aspect of supporting the trio, which is absolutely essential in these chaotic tournaments. Now the main drawback of this formation is that if your IGL goes down early, your whole structure can collapse. Without a brain to lead your team, the other two can easily get lost or split, which is why I think this formation is best for newer trios or established trios trying to rebuild chemistry. This format gives you the structure and stability, and it's simple but effective. We've seen teams in the past like Tayson, Thomas HD, and Queasy use this exact formation, especially in their early FNCS runs. It's a timeless strategy for a reason. Now number 2 is going to be the IGL and double fragger formation. This one is built for pressure. You've got one player focusing on macro, leading rotates and zone decisions, while the other two players are purely focused on micro and finding and securing eliminations. Now what I mean by macro and micro is big picture stuff versus small mechanical details. In terms of why this works, you're applying constant aggression because double fraggers means you can pinch enemies faster, secure refreshes more efficiently, and punish weak rotations of enemy teams. This is especially powerful in semifinals or less stacked lobbies. However, on the other hand, it puts a massive load on the IGL. They need to make decisions fast, tarp cleanly, and stay alive, all while keeping two fraggers from overcommitting to these eliminations. If the IGL gets eliminated, the fraggers often can't recover. In terms of who I think this orientation is best for, it's going to be high-skilled trios with one very experienced IGL and two mechanical standouts. Think a team like in the past being Reverse, Day, and Miro. They won a couple FNCSs with this playstyle, Reverse being the really wise and smart IGL, and then Miro and Day being the aggressive and dominant fraggers. Moving on to Formation 3, you're looking at the IGL and double support strategy. This is going to be for more of a placement-based style, and this is going to be the flip side of the aggressive setup. Here, the IGL becomes the carry, and the two support players enable that IGL to make it deep into every endgame. When you're not looking for kills and not relying on flashy plays, you're focusing on positioning, smart rotates, and consistency. The support players can pre-tarp, they can feed materials, carry heals, and revive when needed. It's all about keeping the IGL in the position to close out the game. However, a really big weakness of this strategy is going to be not having a true fragger. You may struggle with surge or mid-game fights, and this format largely relies on playing smart and picking your battles carefully. I'd specifically recommend this formation for veteran trios who have been playing for a long time. They want to try to get into the top 10 consistently and use placement to qualify through these tournament levels. You need to be comfortable slowing down the game, and you'll see this approach in grand finals games where teams want placement over eliminations. You need to play calculated and break down the game into a very methodical approach. Some trios will even temporarily begin to switch to this formation mid-game if their fragger is too weak on loot or they're in a tough position. In general, I do enjoy this formation quite a bit, and I would recommend it for more established teams. For formation 4, you're looking at the triple IGL/flex trio. This one is one of the more cutting edge areas, and in my opinion, it's also one of the hardest formations to pull off. However, if you do get it right, it can 100% be the strongest. In this formation, all 3 players are capable of leading. They don't rely on one specific voice in the team to lead, and they rotate leadership depending on who's best suited in the moment. The best part about why this format works, it's flexible. If one player dies, there's no panic and the others know exactly what to do. If someone has the better rotation or game sense at that point, they take over. The one weakness I can think of is that communication can get messy if there's no trust or chemistry. If 2 people try to lead at once or no one takes the initiative, the team can fall apart. I personally believe that this orientation is best for long-term trios who know each other extremely well. You'll see this type of format with established pro players. Some examples can be Cold, Acorn, and Seppi. They all have taken the lead at different times depending on different situations, and there's no ego, it's just execution. In general, I would say that more established teams that have been playing for a long time should go for this specific format. I wouldn't recommend this to newer players unless you guys are really confident in your ability to learn it. Now on the exact polar opposite side, you're looking at a fragger support section for Formation 5. In this one, there's no true IGL. It's more seen in scrims, arena, or open qualifiers, but you've basically got 2 fraggers pushing everything and then 1 support player trying to keep them alive. It's really just a high intensity W key strategy of a formation. In terms of why it works, I think the fraggers can have really good chemistry and be confident together. They can absolutely wipe teams in the early game and mid game as well. It's high risk, high reward. However, without a strong IGL, there's a possibility that you're going to struggle in these stacked endgames. There's no direction, no control, and panicked decisions lead to bad rotates and griefed games. This is honestly more of an arena structure. It's not something you're going to want to take into a grand finals unless one fragger steps up to lead mid-match. If you do take it into more stacked tournaments, it usually doesn't scale well. And then the final formation is going to be the hybrid structure. This is going to be dynamic role swapping. This is one of the most effective and underrated formations. It's a hybrid trio and the roles are not locked. Players are going to be switching responsibilities depending on the time of game and the situation. An example of where this would work is if maybe your IGL goes down, the support will step up to lead. Maybe the fragger finds a launch pad and takes over a rotation. Or maybe you're just down bad on mats, so your fragger starts tarping while someone else watches angles. The only drawback of this format is going to be that if your comms are not sharp and your team doesn't understand when to switch, that can cause a problem. Otherwise, it can be a really effective tactic. I would definitely recommend this for trios who have practiced it a lot together. You need to go into scrims, understand when to switch playstyles specifically, understand how to adapt that to the specific time of game, to different situations. Basically, you have to know each other's playstyles inside and out. In my opinion, this is probably the least talked about formation, and a lot of high-level teams secretly operate this way, even if it doesn't seem like that. So now you have all of the formations, how do you decide which one is the best? You should ask yourself a couple of questions. Who naturally takes charge? Who thrives under pressure? Who plays selflessly and makes the team better? Don't force a structure just because a pro team runs it. Build your structure around your team's real strengths. If you've got 1 confident leader and 2 mechanical players, go classic. If you're stacked on fraggers but light on the game sense, designate a leader and tighten your comms. If you all know how to lead, consider a hybrid or flex formation. Basically, go into scrims, VOD review, and tweak the structure as needed based upon how you guys succeed using each one. All in all, my recommendation is that the best one is going to be a flexible 1-to-1-to-1 setup. This means there's going to be 1 IGL that's going to be able to lead through the early and mid game, 1 dedicated fragger who's able to prioritize surge and mid-layer control, and then 1 support player who's going to be the backbone of the team. However, the flexibility of this formation is going to be that each player can adapt to each role at any point in the game. You're going to need to practice a lot for it, but I believe this formation gives teams enough structure to stay organized and also enough flexibility to survive chaos. I hope you all enjoyed this video. Be sure to like and subscribe, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye, guys.